Hello, it's me again for today's Axie Infinity Origins. Season 1 meta analysis and team highlight. Today is probably day 15 already, and I hesitate because I did notice a typo here. But anyway, let's see what today is about. So, today is, I was going to say, pretty big day, but the patch is, I would say, relatively minimal, so probably doesn't change too much. Just because not many people are using those misting runes for AoE, but it probably does a bit for the Spam and Rise's team, because let me just quickly look at it first to show you what I mean. Is because this team does have quite a bit of AoE, so it might affect it, but actually it doesn't really too much unless you do some rage stuff. Because now rage with AoE does get nerfed a bit, but having said that, Spam and Rise is still the top place at the moment with this AoE sort of build. So let's see what others has been playing, and one that caught my eye is definitely this one, where okay, sure, it's still all beasts, probably some rage stuff, but they're using pure power instead of Reckless Hunter or other things. So it'll be interesting to see how this one actually functions. So actually today I'll probably highlight this one. But before that, let me just go into look at other stuff. So you can see the beast stuff is still around, the double bloodlust stuff still around, and then the sustained dawn. That's pretty much it, I feel. In terms of the top, I don't know how many, so you can see, right, it's mostly just double aqua with the bloodlust, or most people use Reckless Hunter, so that's why it is interesting, right? So everyone pretty much using Reckless Hunter just because it does deal a bit more damage with 20% damage, but of course you do get hit 10% more, so maybe so Prof Sergio is trying to mitigate that, so sacrificing a bit of a damage. So of course most of the time you get into free mode, you're just overkilling a lot of stuff anyway, so maybe giving up a bit of the damage for the bulk. So yeah, I must say bulk, it is pretty important in this game, and that might be one of the reasons why Prof Sergio is on top. But let me just scroll down. As you can see, it's pretty similar stuff. You do see a bit of a sustain as well, and yeah, once you go down quite a bit, you do see a bit more interesting stuff that you might not see a bird here. Of course, still Raven's not Raven's tactic, right? You still see Energy Guru, so this will be an interesting one to look at some point as well, if they stay at 40. 40 is actually pretty hard to achieve. And then let me just see. Yeah, double birds here, that is also pretty interesting. I would say the meta is pretty much like this. Poison, you do see a few, but not so much at the top 100. So this is today's meta, and let me just go into the runes and charms. And the one interesting thing I noticed is that Bloodlust actually, I think, increased in price. The rest is pretty much the same or like decreased, but given how much Bloodlust is played at the top level, you do see it increase in price. Whereas for charms, bubble does get a bit more, but otherwise everything else is really pretty low. So beast vitality, bubble are the main ones, and sun as well, I would say, is still pretty strong. And the leafy pot is, I would say, leafy team can be pretty strong. I am actually playing a leafy team now, but at the highest level it is still a bit tough compared to like the rage stuff. That's why Mask of Frenzy is still, 15. Still not not expensive, but also not cheap. Okay, so let's actually get into today's team highlight, and do want to features. Actually now I think it's number 2 or 3, forgot. Let me just number 3, but doesn't matter. They go up and down a bit, but the interesting part, it is the pure power. So this is the back, and you do see 3 Mask of Frenzy here, and we'll get into that later. But let's just look at the move set, just because it might be that they have more bulk, and so allow them to survive a bit, even though they do have, I think, using all the power charm at the end as well. So okay, let's actually see how this particular aggro rage beast build functions. Okay, so I already opened these up. So this should be the front. And you notice that it is pretty similar, actually all little piece across the board. Alright, yeah, let me just double check. Yep. Yeah, because it's actually quite hard to see which one is which. The reason being, yes, it's pretty similar in terms of moveset. So let's say this one is the back. The back does have this glider to get more rage at the end game. And mostly it is the little branch and Shiba. So you notice that's quite interesting because the front and the back both have little branch and Shiba. You do want to run more 2-cost card in this kind of build because you do get extra or free energy quite often once you get into Fury mode. So you do want to use up all the energy possible. And little piece across the board is pretty normal, I would say. And then having confident here and confident here as well, front and back. And Ronan as well, front and back. So you can see the front and the back is pretty similar, except that the front has 9. And the reason is because it actually synergizes with the Jaga at the mid. So that could be quite nice. And actually, that's something, yeah, I just noticed is that little branch for all 3 axes. So that is something that might be a key to success. And then just focusing on the mid, you do have the Golda for some disruption, and then the 2 extra, I guess, energy cards here. Interestingly, not Little Lamb, not with the Confident. So sometimes some people would like to have an extra copy of Confident, but in this case it's just a Little Lamb really just for the Clientele. Okay, let's actually just jump right into the games and see how this one functions. Okay, let me pause the video here and actually look at the runes and charms. So this one is mostly all attacks, except of course the 2 Master Frenzy. So these 2 allows this to go into Fury mode pretty quickly. And then another 1, so actually 3 Master Frenzy in total, and then actually all Vitality. So basically, because you're running Pendulum Scale front and mid, so should be all Vitality. So that's how you can see it's very hard to get through this team in order to get to the back. So let's see if the opponent's this. The opponent is a Sustain. So let's just see. Sustain could be a bit tough going against aggro beasts, just because they can save the cards and slowly line up all the rage stacks and so on before they can do some burst damage. So that this one, I think Strawberry Shortcake is really a meta nowadays. I see it a lot. Yeah, interesting with the Lotus as well. That's the remove curse card. And Hot Butt, yeah. So Hot Butt all across the board is very strong. And with some leaves as well. Let me just see. This one no leaves, but you do get a bit of a leaves as well. So that's a bit of passive healing every turn. But the Hot Butt can, and probably is the key to kind of counter this kind of team. Because if you shuffle a lot of Hot Butt in, they can't get the burst damage because a lot of the times they do get into the burns. And Tiny Turtle could be important, but in this matchup they can just cleanse it off usually with the Confident, so it's probably not the best. And Clover to block a bit of an attack could be good. But okay, let's just look into this one. So I think the opponents realizing that shuffling the burns in is the priority at this point. So yep, just setting up really. And okay, yep. Interestingly, using the this one, okay, of course it's actually going to be quite hard for them to for Prof Sergio to actually get Shiba value, just because the opponent is not going to hit into any of the axes. So interesting to see. So relying on other kind of cards like this one, I Glider 2 and Confident, of course, is to get to the rage stat. And you can see, oh, that's still so much, because each stack still does extra 2 damage, right? So the rage mechanic is pretty strong. I still think it is too strong. Yeah, probably I would say it deserves another nerf, but of course not going to be this season, because they did say that they're not going to change anything for this season. Okay, yeah, I can see that they line up the stacks pretty well, 775, and they might want to get all these into free mode together. Yeah, putting a Golda in, and you can see the front is actually going down pretty soon. Let's see how the opponent. Okay, so Tiny Turtle is always good to disrupt a bit, and then yep, again shuffling Hot Butt in really just to disrupt the opponent. The front probably will go down depending on what. Oh, okay, so this is a very good disruption. So that the front actually can't do anything. Didn't get the well, confident at the back. So saving cards for later. Probably hot butt again. Okay, another stun, so very strong, just to really stall out the turn. So you can see, right, for sustain, you just want to stall out as many turns as possible, so that you get to the blood moon. Okay, so you can see, right, all 777 interest. Oh, getting into Fury mode. Let's go, and then get rid of one first. Okay, right, so you can see have to manage the stacks very, very carefully, because you don't really want to get into those. So interestingly, using the it's not about the heal, but it's really about not too sure why. Maybe just trying to get rid of it so you don't draw into it later. Of course, you will draw into a confused card first, so that's very interesting play. Shiba saving, just saving everything, because it's not worth getting into it, and of course the opponent played a lot of shield, so very strong play, realizing that it's not worth hitting into and just saving cards. But that's why I say it is quite tough for the sustained build, just because you do give a lot of time for the beast build to get into the situation where they just have so much damage. Shiba, Ronan actually unfortunately didn't really even make use of the Fury. Of course, do get the extra energy to burst through the mid, and now it's just the back remaining. Now let's see. Okay, the Clover probably just to block an attack, and then just a pumpkin. But at this point, looking pretty rough. Should take 2 attacks to get through the front. Okay, yep. So yeah, little branches to get through that, and then yes, the burn are coming, but it's going to be pretty close. But I feel that once the back gets to the Fury mode, it is going to be quite rough. Interestingly, not opt for it. Oh, because of the stun. So okay, sacrificing shielding more for the stun, which now it's just really saving. So I must say, very high level play. Definitely something that I probably wouldn't have thought about. Okay, another stun. Really just trying to control the game as much as possible, just to stall out the game. This is then hopefully draw into a lot of the burns card. But do get into Fury mode pretty soon. Yep, get into Fury mode, and the Ronin gonna be enough for the KO. So a very lucky draw in that sense. If it's not for the Ronin, might not be enough. So you can see that now the sustain build mostly is using a lot of hot butts to deny this kind of turn. But of course, it's a card game. If you do draw into those cards, then you get it. If not, then the rage doesn't line up. It might be tough to get through. So okay, so let's look at another game. And this one is actually against more of a interesting with the Aqua in the mid, but then I think it still functions pretty similarly, except that instead of using a beast you use Aqua. But I should have no idea how the opponent's team is gonna go. But of course still at Challenger, right? So meaning all very strong opponent. Let's just quickly check. I don't think it'll make that'll be the same and the same. So let's just see this one. Okay, with the Shiba, so you can see very interesting build, right? So it's like a beast with gaining rage stuff, but also some other utility stuff and an AoE. Okay, and this one little piece as well. I forgot to see, actually does not run in little piece here, instead opt for the AoE. So little piece, show stuff, very important for getting through Pendulum Scale Beast and also Raven's Tactic Birds. And then Risker Fish for damage. Card draw, very important as well. And then of course the 2 energy. And then okay, and I was gonna say usually they run triple nutcrack, but they do want the confident and also the little branch to get into Fury mode, and the little piece and Ronin. So let's just see how the opponent's team actually function. But it is also the rage mechanic, you can see is still very strong. Very good first turn, already deal quite a bit to the front with the Risker Fish. So I feel like Risker Fish is very strong. Interesting using the Hardy Warrior instead of the Bloodlust. Probably just because Doesn't have in that much damage card. Not too sure actually. Always have thought that Bloodlust would be a stronger card, but I mean Rune. Okay, opponent doing some disruption as well with the Golda. That is pretty interesting. Let's just see. Little piece, very strong, getting the stacks up already, and then yep, getting, oh, unfortunately only hitting, is it 1 or 2? Yeah, just hitting one opponent, which just means yeah, the stacks doesn't quite line up. And okay, so the front going down, and extra energy, putting a little piece on as well, pretty strong. Probably use the one at the back. Yep, just to do more damage as well. Yeah, opponent really, I would say so far not really relying on the rage too much, but I feel like rage really is too strong, right? Dealing extra damage. Okay, I think it should, yeah, a bit unfortunate as well, getting into the 2 energy card. Probably save this one, is it, for next turn? Not too sure. Yeah, saving this one for this turn. So this is the awkward part because, I mean, every time you run 2 of those cards, you will get to a point where sometimes you get those 2 cards at the same turn, which probably most of you have experienced. And yeah, probably a Ronin to finish off, and that deals 121. Not too bad. But Pendulum Scale Beast is so strong, still staying on. And let's see how this one goes. Probably a little branches to get into Fury mode, but unfortunately getting the Void. Probably save a card and then go for the Ronin. Yep, just to basically yeah, enough for KO. They're pretty strong, so I would say it's still quite close, but unfortunately these 8 race stat will be yeah, will be wasted. And yeah, opponent very strong, getting the Fury mode and little branch. Okay, so this one actually is it really depends on that particular draw. I feel getting the Fury mode, getting the extra energy to deal that damage. And yeah, unfortunately just not the best of draw here, so can't really finish it off. If Profs Sergio get probably 2 more attack cards from here would have been enough, but yeah, just skin that the Shiba, I think. If so it ultimately go down to the card draw, but our opponent does so-called win the race of damage and finish off this game. Okay, so now you can see how basically how this game, well, Prof Sergio's team function with a lot of the 2 cost card, which I would say helps. But yeah, this is basically how Rage Beast function mostly these days, and I assume that if you play at the very top level, you will see that quite a bit. Okay, so this is it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed my video, do consider giving me a like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, and use my Lenosian code Morris. Thanks again, and have a good one.